Hi everybody, so in today's video we are going to talk a little bit about posture. Posture is basically the central thread, the reason for doing Pilates. Basically, people think it's to have a strong core, and it's like, well, yes it is, but the reason we want a strong core is because that means that your spine is being held and supported in its optimum position. And when your spine is being held in its optimum position, it then means that the rest of your body falls into nice posture as well. So it means your shoulders are in place, that means your arms hang well, it means your hips are in place, your legs are nice and stable. When your posture is good and your body is well aligned, it means you're going to be better balanced, you're going to have strength in the body where you need it, flexibility where you need it, and everything is going to be good. So posture is really the central thing about Pilates, and it's so important to our health. The reason most people get aches and pains of some reason when they're lifestyle related is basically because of poor posture. And that can come around from the environment that you're in, and the way you sleep at night, kind of the things you're doing during the day, maybe the job that you have, if you do heavy lifting or you sit a lot during the day. So our environment is really crucial to us having good posture, and it's something that we have to keep coming back to. We have to keep working on, pretty much like any other part of our health, because sometimes we're sitting, sometimes we're standing, sometimes we're lying down, but posture is always important no matter what position you're in. And if it's something that we take our eye off the ball with, we can suddenly find that our posture is not going into a great position. So what I want to show you today is just what sort of perfect standing posture looks like and what perfect seated posture looks like, because those are the two positions that most of us find ourselves in the majority of the time, and so I think that would be of most use for you. But we will come back to some other positions as well if people find that interesting. So just before we get on with that, the reason it's so important during pregnancy and the postnatal period to have really good posture as well is obviously during pregnancy your center of gravity is constantly shifting as your body weight is changing and your shape is changing, and it's really easy to end up with poor posture when you're pregnant. So we have to really think about it a lot during pregnancy. And then as a new mum, you are lifting and carrying a small person around, you're carrying their pram, they're getting them in and out of the car. There is so much opportunity for you to do your back in basically as a new mum. So it's really important to have that core strength, to have that good posture, to know how to correct yourself so that you don't end up in a position where you are hurting yourself. So what I'm going to do is jump on the mat, and we're just going to talk you through perfect standing alignment, and then I'm going to show you on a chair as well what seated alignment looks like as well. So you can grab a chair if you want to as well and just join in here. So I'm just going to rearrange the screen here so that you can see me. Oh, it sets up differently on here to Zoom, so apologies, I'm taking a moment there. All right, guys, so I'm just going to put a chair into place as well so that you can see the seated posture in just a moment. All right, guys, so first of all, for our standing posture, when we set up our posture, we always start at the bottom of the body. There's no point starting with a nice neck if your legs are all out of position. So start at the bottom and work your way up. The first thing we want to do is settle our feet hip distance apart. Now, particularly for women, we think, this is the widest part of my hips, and you end up out here somewhere, but actually it's under these pelvic bones. So place your hands on top of those wibbly bones there, fingertips pointing down, and as you look down, your knees and ankles should be falling in line under your fingertips. So it's narrower than most women particularly think it is. Now, once you're looking down and you've got those feet hip distance apart, you just want to spread the toes out. You want as much contact between your feet and the ground as possible, so you feel really nice and secure and sort of set into the ground there, a bit like a tree rooted down. And then once you're happy that your feet are nice and relaxed and spread into the mat, you just want to check that your knees are nice and soft. We don't want to be slouching down, we don't want to be locked out, we're just relaxed in the middle. And same with our thighs, we should be nice and relaxed here, so we don't want to be holding tension through our body at any point. Now, this is a really important bit. We want to get our pelvis into its neutral position. So if I turn to the side here, we don't want to be tucked under with our tailbone where our back is flattened because it causes us to hunch. We also don't want to be sticking the bottom out behind us because it overly curves the spine, and that's going to cause you pain. We want a neutral spine, which is where you have that natural S shape running through your back. And to find that, if you have a mirror, that would be my first piece of advice. Makes it a lot easier. If you don't worry. You're just going to place your hands, one on the front of your abdomen, one in your lower back, and you're going to tilt your pelvis back and forward here, just imagining it's like a swing going from one extreme to the other. And what we want to do eventually is settle the pelvis halfway between these two extreme positions. So you can take a couple of tilts, just see how things feel, and then maybe visualize your pelvis like a swing going backwards and forwards in the children's playgrounds, and eventually that swing is going to come to a stop, and that is your center ground. So just gradually make the movement smaller in each direction, and then you're going to settle just in your mind's eye into that neutral position. You should feel that curve in your lower back, okay? It takes a little bit of practice, but have a go at it. And then once you're there, we want to now imagine the spine as a piece of elastic, and I want you to think of drawing that spine upwards. That should naturally make you draw inwards a bit through your stomach, feel that you've lengthened your body, feel your rib cage lift. And then we want to roll our shoulders back and down into the body. I'd recommend taking a couple of rolls here. Just feel the chest open, feel the shoulder blades get close together and down in the back. And you want to eventually push your shoulder blades together as if they're touching, and then let them drop down towards your bottom. So your hands are hanging at the side of your body and not in front of you. And then finally, we just lengthen through the neck. You want to keep the chin parallel to the ground. Imagine something balanced on your head, and this here is your perfect posture, okay? Now this may feel uncomfortable because if you're not used to it, you're taking your body and your muscles into positions that they're not used to being in. So don't think it's not correct. It probably is correct. It's just that it's going to feel a little bit uncomfortable until you get realigned. So just be aware of that. And obviously you're not going to hold it 100% of the time. That's unrealistic for most people. We've got other things to be thinking about. But you just want to, if you can, quickly go through this check with yourself. Maybe if you find yourself standing in a queue at the shops, or doing something else, just take a moment to try and settle yourself and just think of that posture while you're doing things during the day. Okay, so this is your standing posture here. The last thing to mention is that it's quite common for people to either inadvertently lean forwards or be leaning backwards, or maybe be kind of standing on one leg. So you want to feel that you're well balanced over the feet, and you shouldn't feel that you're gripping with your toes, balancing on your heels, or kind of leaning to one side at all. So have a little shift back and forward, side to side, and then when you're in the center, you should feel nice and relaxed through your legs. Okay, guys, so that's your standing posture. Like I say, just try whenever you get a moment, maybe when you're brushing your teeth, if you're doing your makeup in the mirror, you're standing in a queue, something like that. Just use that as opportunities to think about your posture, and then before you know it, it will become much more natural to you. Now, sitting, it's all going to be basically the same. It's the same things we need to think of. It's just that when we're sitting down, certain things are going to be slightly different. So when we're sitting down, our feet still want to be a hip distance apart. So it's a little bit easier probably here to settle your feet underneath your knees, and then just make sure that your knees obviously aren't too close together or too far apart. So just check that your knees are still in line with your hips. And then everything else is the same. We want that neutral pelvis. So if I just turn the chair sideways at this point, this is probably the bit where people go most wrong with seated posture, is that they sit their bottom right back in their chair, and if, like me, you're relatively short in height, you now can't touch the ground, and then you start slumping backwards, and then your shoulders go. So what I would advise is, if you've got chairs at home that you're working in, or you sit at a table to eat meals in, that you actually bring yourself to the front of the chair. You don't need to be perched right on the edge, but bottom on the front of the chair, so that you can get your feet flat on the ground. And then also what that has naturally done is brought me into a neutral pelvis and a neutral spine position. It's much harder to slump here without fully going back, and most of us wouldn't sit and eat our dinner like this. So if you sit at the front of your chair and just tilt your pelvis, you're naturally going to find that neutral spine position, okay? And then everything else through the top of the body is exactly the same here. So we've got your feet underneath your knees, knees in line with your hips, your neutral spine, and then from there you lengthen, lift the ribs, drop the shoulders back and down, lengthen the head, and imagine something balanced on top of you, okay? And this is your perfect seated posture. So you can see that the elements we run through are the same whether you're standing, you're sitting, and it will be the same for everything else when you're lying down, everything else as well. And even when you're actually moving, you still want the same cues through the body. It won't always be possible because of what you might be doing, like picking something up, but then you can still drop the shoulders back and down once you've picked up the object, for example. Or if you're bending down, you might have to take a foot slightly wider to lean down and get something. But then as you stand up, you can think about the upper body posture. So it may not always be applicable while you're on the move, but just run through those things and you will find that you can take your body into a better position position, and that's going to stop you getting aches and pains. Okay, guys, so have a go at that today. Have a go maybe in front of a mirror if you can do, just to get a visual of what it looks like for you. And the other great thing about setting up your posture is it really makes you feel a lot better. It's something I didn't really realise when I first started, was the strength of the mental and the body connection here. If you're kind of slumped in a heap, it's pretty bad to feel kind of happy and chirpy and in a good place. Whereas when you sit up tall, shoulders back, have a good look around, it's going to make you feel better in yourself as well. So that's another reason why having really great posture is good for you as well. So have a little go practicing, particularly if you're working from home. See if you can figure this out. Sit yourself in a nice firm chair. Have a practice at meal times as well. See if you can get the rest of the family involved. And in another video, we'll talk about some other postural positions as well. So I hope you have a great rest of the day, guys. I hope that's been useful to you, and I'll see you in the next video.